What if the most successful person in the world wasn't the one collecting awards, but the one quietly rewriting the future of children who had every reason to give up? Every morning, thousands of employees poured into the towering glass headquarters of one of America's largest corporations. Inside, every decision made by billionaire CEO James Carter could move markets, create jobs, and shape industries. Business magazines praised his relentless discipline, investors admired his fearless leadership, and competitors respected the empire he had built from the ground up. To the public, he was the definition of success. But every Friday evening, just as the city skyline lit up with shimmering lights, James vanished. There were no luxury dinners, no celebrity gatherings, no private yachts waiting at the marina. His security team received the weekend off, his driver stayed home, and the billionaire climbed into an old pickup truck that looked completely out of place beside the exotic cars parked outside corporate headquarters. No one knew where he was going. For nearly a decade, the routine never changed. Even senior executives who had worked beside him for years couldn't explain his mysterious Friday disappearances. Rumors spread throughout the company. Some believed he owned a secret ranch. Others guessed he was quietly negotiating billion-dollar business deals. A few even imagined he had another private life no one knew about. Only one employee became determined to uncover the truth. One Friday, keeping a careful distance, he followed the aging pickup truck for almost 2 hours until the city disappeared behind endless country roads. Finally, the truck stopped outside a small community center that looked forgotten by time. The building was simple. Its paint had faded, the basketball court was cracked, and the playground showed years of wear. Yet the moment James stepped out of the truck, dozens of smiling children ran toward him with excitement that couldn't be faked. "Mr. James." Their voices echoed through the evening air. Not one child called him a billionaire. Not one recognized him as the famous CEO whose face appeared on magazine covers. To them, he was simply the kind man who showed up every Friday without fail. Inside the center, the employee froze in disbelief. Bright classrooms filled with books. A small computer lab buzzing with students. A cozy kitchen serving fresh, hot meals. Shelves packed with school supplies. Everything inside reflected hope. Later, he quietly learned an astonishing truth. Every book. Every computer. Every scholarship. Every warm meal served inside that building had been funded by James himself. Yet nowhere, not on the walls, not on the entrance, not even on a single plaque, was his name mentioned. No cameras had ever been invited. No press releases had ever been written. No speeches had ever been given. But the greatest surprise wasn't the money. It was what James did next. Instead of simply writing checks and leaving, he sat beside the children, patiently helping them solve math problems, reading books with younger students, and asking each child about their dreams as if nothing else in the world mattered. Then one little girl looked up at him with innocent curiosity. "Mr. James, why do you come here every single week?" James smiled softly before answering. "Because someone once believed in me, when I had absolutely nothing." The room fell completely silent. No one realized that behind those few quiet words was a heartbreaking story that would soon leave even the hidden employee speechless. James slowly walked toward the quiet library, his footsteps almost disappearing beneath the children's laughter. The employee remained hidden near the doorway, unable to leave. Something told him this wasn't just another act of generosity, it was the reason behind everything. On the wall hung an old photograph of a teenage boy wearing worn-out clothes and holding a stack of battered schoolbooks. James stopped in front of it. After a long silence, he whispered, "That boy was me." The employee felt his heart sink. "When I was 14, my father lost his job. We couldn't pay the rent. Some nights, my family slept in our car. I went to school pretending everything was fine, even when I hadn't eaten all day." His voice stayed calm, but the pain behind it had never truly disappeared. One freezing winter afternoon, my teacher, Mrs. Carter, noticed I was struggling. She didn't embarrass me. She didn't ask questions in front of the class. She simply bought me dinner, gave me a quiet place to study after school, and reminded me that my future was bigger than my circumstances. James smiled as he remembered her words. Your circumstances are temporary. Your potential is not. That single sentence changed my life forever, he said. I studied harder than ever. I earned scholarships, built my first company, failed more times than anyone knows, and eventually built a business worth billions. But none of it would have happened if one person hadn't chosen kindness over judgment. The employee finally stepped forward. Why keep all of this a secret? He asked quietly. James looked around the room where children were laughing, reading, and dreaming without fear. If people knew who was paying for everything, some children would feel like charity cases. I never wanted them to feel rescued. I wanted them to feel respected, valued, capable. He paused before adding. Real generosity isn't about making people remember your name. It's about helping them believe in their own. Months later, the employee shared the story, not to glorify a billionaire, but to remind the world that true success is measured by the lives we quietly lift. James never changed his Friday routine. He still drove the same old pickup truck. He still spent hours listening to children's dreams. And somewhere inside that small community center, future doctors, engineers, teachers, and leaders continued growing because one man never forgot what it felt like to have nothing. The greatest legacy is never the fortune you leave behind. It's the hope you leave in someone else's heart.